Manchester, great. Live Seller Clinic. First of all, I would like to do that you do a quick introduction, Sam. We know who you are already. Thank you for that. We have Katie, Jane, and Emma. Would be great if you give a quick introduction, who you are, what you're doing, that our lovely audience, you know, who is talking to you about some things which are important, which could be optimized on other things. And last but not least, I will introduce myself real quick. Emma, would you mind starting?
Hi, I'm Emma and I'm a commercial operations lead.
I'm Jane Bell, known as eBay Anorak. I've helped 2,000 sellers optimise sales on eBay. I'm totally petrified, and I bought my notebook so I don't forget where I'm going.
Hi, I'm Katie. I work in our merchant integration solutions, so I help onboard some of our largest sellers. Over to you, Torben.
That was quick. Wow. I'm not set up yet fully. Anyway, hi, I'm Torben. Been with eBay for, on Saturday, it's actually 17 years. And I started my career with eBay within the account management, managing sellers within tech, vertical, parts and accessories, fashion, home and garden. So I've seen pretty much every vertical, not just here in the UK, over in Germany, but also globally. And then a couple of years ago, I moved on to the other side, meaning out of the advising things, taking all that knowledge and bringing it into product, and now working on how to shape the product, how do we make it better, that the products we deliver fits your needs, and actually make your life easier. What we want to talk about today, we have 3 sellers who agreed that we go through their listing, through their store, and we give advice and show you what can be optimized, what should be optimized, and there's always room for improvements. Some of those listings are just great, fantastic. We have pictures in there which are fantastic. We have videos, just as a sneak preview. And I would say, let's start with the first one, which is marvelous minifigures. Can we switch to my computer? Does it work? Looking at my team in the back. There we go. So here we have the marvelous minifigures. That's the store starting page. And would be great, Sam, as you just spoke about stores, to get your view on that. What do you think about it? What could be potentially changed, optimized? What should the seller do? And what is already in a great shape?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for starters, this is already quite a good shop in that sense. If you think about these pillars that we just talked about, you can see here that first pillar, right, around buyer recognition. That's in pretty good shape. Nice billboard here. And like I said, I like that they don't only use it in this kind of visual manner, but there's some additional information here with the text there around what they offer, conveying even a little bit more to the buyer around, oh yeah, this seems like a good seller that I can really trust. Things like dedicated support, we're always here to help. Like those little things, but those things definitely help. Logo is uploaded there. So they have a lot of these basic features in there around buyer recognition and telling your story. Even on the merchandising part, if we scroll down a little bit, a lot is in there as well. They have their featured categories. They're using multiple of these item strips. You don't just have to use one. You can use multiple, so you can show newly listed and then pick particular sections of items. So I think that's quite helpful as well. Probably could use maybe a little bit of work on the imagery here. Like there's a lot around buy 3, get 4 free, buy 3, get 1 free, etc. But it's kind of all over the place in that sense, which then in the shop kind of comes back in a little bit of a strange way. One thing that they could add, for example, if we go to the About Us text, so if we scroll up a little bit and then go to the About tab, there's some text in that tab, which is nice because it does convey a lot of additional information, even about, again, the buy 3, get 4 free element. There's no video yet. You could ponder about maybe good to convey some of this information in a very short video. It doesn't have to be long. It can be 30 seconds, 40 seconds, 50 seconds to explain a little bit more about, okay, what is this about? How do I do this as a buyer right now? So that it's very quick and easy to understand. And a 30-second video is, of course, very enticing for a buyer to just click on it and very quickly be like, all right, let me see what this is about. Apart from that, and that, of course, we can't go into because it would require going to the into the account of the seller and showing that to you, which we won't do. But I would be very interested in seeing how they are now engaging with customers, if they are using email marketing right now, social, maybe even thinking about investing in advertising, for example, because they certainly are at the stage where they could really dedicate a lot of their time now on that third pillar of, okay, really bringing in customers into the shop. Last thing that I'll say, maybe if you scroll down a little bit in this tab, we do offer some functionality also around adding policies to your shop. They can be very standard policies, right? Maybe you have certain policies around shipping, and you can add them here. Also there, you fully control it. You can put the text in there, you can change it whenever you want, all from that shop tab in Seller Hub. You can also add some custom policies. Like there's some that you can just fully create yourself, but you can imagine that's also an additional trust driver, of course, when a buyer can just go in here, read that, and immediately understand what that is about. So it's an additional feature that offers some trust, I think, and is useful for buyers. But all in all, pretty good shop. Really going into that third kind of phase or pillar, I think, maybe polishing a little bit this about section, but do a good job of branding, buyer recognition, and showcasing their inventory in an attractive way. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Going over, we just picked one listing out of that shop, that Lego Super Mario Series 5 and so on. And it would be great to give our audience some feedback of like, what do we see from a marketplace perspective, what could be optimized in here? Is there room for optimization, yes or no? Can we start with you, Jane?
Yeah, I've got there's text on the pictures which can exclude from certain searches on major search engines, shall we say. The search engines actually like it without any of that, without any watermarks, anything like that. I've got the titles actually in capitals, which some people with e-readers, it spells it out like an acronym. So it's LEGO, and that's it. So the job just won't go any further. Excellent 60-day free returns. If you've ever looked at a search and searched with a filter for free returns, as much as it sounds awful, the competition is very much lower. So it's worth having a look at that to see if you can reduce the competition. If they're going to return it, they will do anyway. 60 days doesn't increase returns, but it is better as far as search. Variation name, it's got compatible Lego set. Now, if you search for this particular item or character, the filters say character name. This has got compatible Lego set, so I would rather have compatible character name in there and then list the characters. If you have a look at the search, it'll show you that. Also, the description, a bit further down, contains info that is usually seen above the fold. So shipping, returns, why buy from us, that is actually above the fold anyway. So it might be better to spend more time on the description with a little bit of few long string keywords, which you can find by searching for the item and not pressing enter, and it'll give you the top 10, not necessarily in order, of the most searched for keywords on eBay at the moment, which will change during the year.
Great, thank you for that. Anything to add? Katie,
Yeah.
Emma?
Just to add on the item description, generally speaking, we try to get our sellers to add a HTML listing description, which we'll show you a good example of that a little bit later. But the reason for this is that looks fine, obviously, on the big screen, but when you go to mobile then, and we all know a lot of our buyers tend to shop on mobile nowadays, it's so easy accessible. What happens then is when they open that up on their app or on the mobile web, that doesn't load to their screen size, so either they have to pinch and zoom or zoom out, or the alternative would be then that they have to turn the screen. It's just extra clicking time, may mean that a buyer then could abandon search. Whereas if you have a customized description, not only can you get your branding across, but then what will also happen is it will adjust to the size of the screen.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yeah, if we could actually just jump back to the storefront without stealing Sam's store thunder. There was one thing, I don't know if anybody might have noticed on the featured categories. We'll just see who's a Lego Super Mario fan.
Wait.
Yeah, perfect. So if we go to the main one, if you see here this front, it's over here right behind my right shoulder. It says featured category is Lego Super Mario Characters 5. And obviously if you can just see in the images, it's actually all Muppets characters. So obviously just paying super close attention to that to make sure whatever your featured character is, or maybe if you're doing like featured product or bestseller, just making sure that that does correctly correspond and it matches what's there, because I know I'm a fan of the Muppets. Miss Piggy in particular is my favorite. So I always, that was one of the first things I spotted, and just making sure that they're corresponding, obviously, so they're easy, because some buyers will go off the text and some will obviously go off the images, so just making sure they match.
Can I just add one to the shop description on the About page? So the video, looking at, so I usually say the best advice is to think like a buyer. On the About page, the video, I like to see highlighting the business, the products, and the team that you work with, because people do business with people. So it is nice to see the people that you're buying from. It does increase the confidence to buy from people rather than just the corporate sort of see.
Great. So, I'd like to get back real quick to this one more time. So, when I looked at that at a glance, I think that some things which just caught my attention was like the text on the pictures. What do we do with listings? So what we do every day, take all the listings, check the pictures. If the picture fits certain criteria, we take the listing and ship it over technically to all the different search engines named Google, Bing, and so on out there. With that in here, that's been the first picture by any 3 get 4 free. Unfortunately, we cannot do that. So there's a certain amount, or from a percentage point of view, how much text, gravity, watermark you as a seller can have on a picture before we have to block it and cannot hand it over to all the external search engines. And why is that important? Because traffic matters, not just on eBay, but also you want to make sure that you get the external traffic as well. This is one thing which caught my attention in here. And then also a little bit key in here, which is great, the first 3 words, like Lego Super Mario series, like those are important. Would I, as a potential buyer, look for that number 71410 figures? Maybe yes, maybe not. But this is also something you as a seller have some wiggle room to play with, because what do? We take the title and each word gets a score. And that score decides where your item is ranked in the search result page, in the listing page when you search for something. So it could be even better to take that 71410 out of that position, put it at the end. The math behind that would be still the same, but who decides if that's an attractive and relevant item, yes or not? It's the buyer. And if the buyer has it easier to read that item and understand what you're offering him, he might click on that. So that's the first step you want to achieve with an item. That a buyer in search result of all the millions of products listed on eBay clicks on the item and then ideally purchases that. Coming to the next one real quick. Luxe collector fashion. I would say brief start for you, Sam, again.
Sure. Yeah. Could start relatively the same, right? So spend attention on that first pillar. So branding is there, logo, billboard, etc. Actually, one thing that they did really well is in that About tab, they have a short video which conveys a nice message. You don't have to watch the video right now, I watched it. But it's a nice short video that explains their business. I would say creates a little bit of a connection with the buyer also. which is a nice touch and doesn't have to be a highly complicated, $1 million video, so to speak, right? It can be, just showing what it is that you do. Apart from that, a little bit of an explanation here as well in the About Us text. I think that's very helpful. And then in the shop itself, I would say maybe if we go back to that shop tab and then scroll down a little bit to look at the inventory. There we go. Could maybe do a little bit more even around the inventory or the merchandising in that sense. So there's these two strips and then featured categories. I bet that this is a shop that has some very special items, right? You see here, for example, very highly priced handbags, for example. That could actually be a use case that could be great for this marketing banner, for example, where you really want to draw out the highly kind of unique inventory there. Could be one item. You could also make a particular category around it. But seeing that the inventory here is, in that sense, so special and unique in that sense, could warrant a feature like that as well to really draw in the buyers to a particular section, for example. That's what I would say in a nutshell. So all in all, doing a pretty good job on branding and buyer recognition, especially with that video. I think that's a nice touch. Could tweak maybe the merchandising a little bit with what I just explained. And then also here, same story, not something that we can show you, but a shop that's very much ready also for using email marketing, social. I think especially on social it could do good. They also explain in their video actually that they have a pretty decent social media presence. So that offers some opportunities then in that social tab that we offer to easily share out your inventory and your shop across the various platforms that you have. That could be a real opportunity for them to get more buyers into the shop, increasing that traffic, increasing those repeat sales, for example, or even think about a little bit of shop advertising if they're ready for that step. We'd always do social and email marketing first, and then maybe think about ads last. Yeah, that's roughly what I would say.
Sorry for cutting you off in here, but just looking at the time.
No worries.
We just picked randomly one listing from that store, just that you get an impression. Let me just scroll down real quick, because it's a bit different area than the toys we saw before. And that's the item description. So in here would be great to get what you think about it, what you see in here, where you think there's room for improvement, and what is already done great by the seller in here as well. So Katie, let's start with you.
Yep, so look, we're looking at a used condition item. If we could just quickly tap through the photos there, Torben, just go through a couple of the images on the list, if that's okay. So we can see there, we're having a look at the quality of the item, right? And these are really high quality photos. But as we go through them, what we really need to show is there's only one left at the moment. But like that, if there is, say, more than one that you're selling in an item like this, we need to highlight if there's any defects, if there's any, a thread pulled, anything like that. It's to cover yourself, obviously, as a seller. Make sure that you're noting these things out. Just really go into every specific possible angle. So like that, I'd like to see more imagery in terms of the internal of the jacket. And then if we scroll down slightly a little bit more, and we go to item specifics. So what we'd love to see here is there's NA for pretty much all of the item specifics there. Ideally, what we would like to see is, we're covering what the material is. Kind of sleeve length. These are all things that are expected by buyers. If you have a look, when you go to actually list this item, we've made it really intelligent of that. We will prompt you what the most searched for item specifics are. So that would be the option for the seller if you listen directly on site. If not, go search for a similar item, have a look at item specifics on the left. That's how buyers filter. So if a buyer goes to search something, these are the options they're going to filter by. If you're not hitting those markers within your item specifics, then you're going to get filtered out of search just by doing this with this particular item.
Yeah, great, thank you. And I think this is key for all of us. Think about the item specifics. They are not just there. Some of them are mandatory. And we were on a journey over the last couple of years, and it was probably a painful journey for some of you, but they do make sense and they do add value. And if you don't want to become invisible when our buyers use the filters we offer them in each category, you better make sure that you fill them and use them accordingly. And we come to that with the next example in a bit. Katie.
So one thing for me that I just noticed there was if you have a look in the item description from the seller, it says the size is EU 38, but if you actually scroll up to the top, it obviously says the size that's left available is EU 44. Now it looks to me, obviously, because it's listed as last one, again, as Katie was saying, if there maybe was more than one of this product, we need to, again, just make sure that that information is corresponding, because that might lead to a buyer maybe going, is this actually a 44 or is this an EU 38 I'm getting? So again, just making sure that information is super up to date at all times. The description as well, I think, just going back to that, I think we can agree that it's maybe a little bit plain, maybe, is the best word for it. So again, like, what can we do to, make this pop more and, make that stand out? Your item description should, again, really hold maybe any extra information you really want your buyers to know. So again, I think there's a little bit more work that we can do there on the description as well to just make it stand out a bit more.
Yeah, and before we come to you, Jane, something I saw where I would have question mark as a buyer. It says established retail price £565. Then we have up here the current sales price is 165 and the recommended retail price is 235. So I, as a buyer, what is the correct information in here? I would be a little bit confused, and this is also a trust thing to make sure the information you put in there is correct and matches it. And I can just say from, in case you do sell across the country and outside the country, especially selling into Germany, for example, for those things, sellers get sued because it's the contradictory information and what is the right information, and you're not giving a proper content and information to the buyer up front. So make sure that the information you provide in the item description matches what you have on top in terms of sales price, and in this case also RRP. But Jane, what are your thoughts for that listing?
Yeah, I just noticed something else I've not got on my list. There is UK 14 and the size in the title. Usually if you've got a multi-variation, you wouldn't put size in the title because it will make it show in search even if you're out of stock. That causes an extra more impressions and will affect your conversion rate. So similar to what the other guys have got, great shot video, by the way. It's also got subtitles on it. I like that. People can watch it then while they're on a train or similar. So I've got 14 days to return. It really should be 30 days or more, preferably 60 days. If they're going to return, again, they'll do it regardless. And in item specific. So if I search for a similar item or all those keywords, it comes up in search. The minute I hit colour, it's going to disappear from a search. If you've not selected, because you've not got colour in this at all, it's got red fur coat. So happy medium, really, this is between time and sales. Now, you don't want to, a lot of sellers don't want to spend the time with listing because it's like, oh, I've got loads to do. But if you don't spend the time, then you are actually investing in the future sales of the item. So it really is good to spend the time, especially if you've got multiple items. Description is very sparse, need measurements if possible. The bag listings, this is not the listing, but on the bag listings, I'd like to see more pictures of it inside the bag. This is, I think, like a buyer thing. If I buy a bag, I want to know how many pockets it's got, so I don't go up to a checkout with basically just a bucket to rake in the bottom of it to find everything. So that's really just a little bit more on the photo on that, on the bag ones.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. And when I just look at the title again, also in here, I would suggest to wiggle a bit with the wording. Remember, the first 3 words are key. Not just for our search, but also for the perception of the buyer. How easy do I pick up within all the results, all the offering on the site, on which product is it about? With the first picture, I could say, okay, within the search result page, yes, it is a jacket. but it does add value if you take the jacket and put it either on second or third place, because this could also change the rating, and with that, the placement in search result page in here for you as a seller. Last but not least, we don't start with the shop now, going with the item description straight in. And with that, let's start with you, Jane. What do you think about the last example we picked?
Yeah, so multi-variation list, the colour option should fit that of eBay's filter menu. So the colours on the drop-down there, if you just click on that drop-down, they say, that's it, blush pink white and silver grey white. I would say use pink or grey, because that's one of the filters. So if I've got desire to have a pink bedroom, that doesn't really fit with me. I'm a bit of a black and purple person. But if I search for pink and I filter by pink, that listing's not in my search because it says that colour is blush pink white. So if so item specifics, again, choose eBay's where possible. I've also got, there's always a balance between the relevance part of the algorithm and the listing time spent. Again, covering the trust value and relevance on your account means more sales. So there's 3 parts of search in the algorithm, and it's really a whole account attack, not just the listing.
Okay, Katie, Emma.
So it's very similar to actually what you just said on our previous listing, Torben. Like looking at that title, so obviously Dream Scene is the brand, and again, super important to obviously have that in your title. But when we look at the second and the third words in the title, shapes, teddy, to me, I think teddy bear, but obviously it's that kind of teddy bear material, obviously that's on the duvet. I think we could do a bit of a shuffle there, probably, again, if, you know, I was this seller, and make sure you've got, like, you know, fleece or duvet cover maybe sitting in that second, third kind of, you know, order, as opposed to shapes, teddy bear. We could probably afford to shuffle them a little bit down the title. Again, just kind of going back, or else putting bedding set, you know, those kind of more relevant keywords. Because again, I think Jane said this very early on, think like a buyer, and, you know, as a buyer, think maybe what keywords are you going to search if you had to in 3 or 4 keywords, and more than likely it would probably be bedding set, duvet, cover, so they should kind of be a little bit more prominent in the title.
Great, thank you for that. Going a little bit further down, Emma, any thoughts from your end?
So just on what I had been previously saying earlier in relation to the item description, this would be a good example of a custom designed listing description. So you just scroll down a little bit for me, Torben.
Further down?
Yeah, just down a little. So just so we can see here, this is custom designed for the seller. If you're good with HTML, you can obviously do this yourself. You can choose to pay another company to be able to do it. But it doesn't have to be even as fancy as this. Essentially what we're looking at here is we obviously have the branding on the listing, and then we obviously have imagery from the listing itself. And then further down, if you scroll a little bit more, we obviously see a little bit more about the item. Now look, this is personal preference. This will obviously depend by seller, by the type of item that you're listing, as to how much information you want in the item description. But having that custom layout for every single listing straight off the bat, it'll make your listings optimized in terms of mobile, and like that, it will just give a clear-cut form on your branding as well.
Yeah. Going down a little bit further, you probably see that we have the red cut line here, which is the end of the item description. And then there's a lot of
Empty white space.
white space, blank, white, when it comes to business seller information. So this is also something some buyers really look for. Okay, the whole thing, the whole package. The whole package is not just the pictures and the title, but it's the item description itself. And in here, a little thing is broken. I think that can be fixed easily. But overall, I think you see there's always great stuff, what we've seen in the examples. I like the pictures from all of them because they are great. It takes time to take pictures to bring them up. Is there some room for improvement? Yes, there sure is. Don't put any graffiti, text, banners on pictures ideally. If you really want to put on your corporate identity or your brand, do it outside of the product itself. It does work. There's a certain percentage which you can do it, and you can check with your items being shown up on the listings itself, on Google and other search engines or not. And if it's too much, just work with that a little bit. So it's not that our policy says just plain pictures, that's it, full stop. And we've seen that example. I think it's a pretty good example where the seller puts the different colors in here. But that's also something, looking at some other listings from that seller in that case, make sure that the colors you have in here as an option is also available. Meaning not that the variation is sold out, that could be one thing, which can happen, but that the color is available in general for that specific listing. Because if you show something on a picture and you don't have that variation available at all, there's also a mismatch. And then the question could come from the buyer, well, what do I get with that variation? Or I want specifically that color which you show on the picture itself, but I can't find it in the variation. So that leads to additional questions which you probably don't want to have because you want to sell as a seller. Ideally, you don't want to have all the work answering questions, and you can, by that, making sure there's some clinical upfront done with all your listings, and take that workload away from you and make sure that the buyer gets the right information upfront. So, is it easy? It sure is not easy. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time. Also to think about the headline itself. Is it always easy to come up with that? No. Maybe it helps a glass of wine or a pint to sit down and think about. And what's most important in here, I think, is take a step back. You are professional sellers. You've been doing this for months, years, decades potentially. Take a step back and think about what would a buyer look for? What would a buyer put into the computer or the mobile? We heard mobile share is growing, and we all have mobile phones in today's world. What would they type in to find your products? They probably would not put in the exact manufacturer number. Those are probably the minority of the buyers. But what would they type in? What are they looking for? And those are the buyers you want to get. So this is an important step when doing work on the listing, on the product itself, on the item description, on the item title. It might be easy for like branded products like Apple or Samsung, for example, but it might be harder for products like that. What do buyers look for? And what can I make to actually get all of them? And there's one more thing in here. You have 80 characters which you can use up to. Well, there might be products where the 80 characters are not enough. What can I do with them? Instead of using all the 80 characters, you have what we just touched earlier, the item specifics. Item specifics are covered by our search and the same way then the item title is covered. So knowing that, taking that into consideration, you could think about taking some stuff or some words you might not have used yet and add them into the item specifics to make sure you get more from the search from all the buyers and bring more traffic onto your listings. Anything to add from you? Sam, do we want to take a quick look at that store?
We can, if we have a couple minutes left.
What a question.
Cool. I mean, I think that the message will be pretty clear now, as in the maybe getting cheesy by now, in that there's the three pillars, right? I think again also this shop has done a pretty good job. They even used that marketing banner you saw it pop up just now in a very clever way, actually, in that they focus on seasonality a bit, like back to school right now, and so that of course has some attention right now. School's recently starting up again, and so they use the marketing banner to really draw attention to that. But their branding, it's in order, right? The billboard there, logos there, they're merchandising it in a nice way. In the About tab, there's even video there, etc. So also here, a shop that's really should be focusing on engaging with customers right now, but they've done a pretty good job. Like I said, it's about those three things: branding, merchandising, engaging. This looks like a solid job to me. Again, even using that marketing banner in a very clever way right now, playing in on seasonal trends. Yeah.
Great. Is there anything you'd say that should be changed right away, or?
Not immediately. No. Like I said, for me, it will be interesting to see the engagement strategy that they have right now. But that, of course, we can't go into because it would require to go into their accounts. Yeah. But yeah, there you see the marketing banner, school essentials. I think that's a nice little addition. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Can I just add a tip there? If you just scroll back up a little bit, a bit further. Yeah, do you see, so on the right-hand side, there's a little button above the search there, and it's got share. Quite good to use that to share your whole shop. It's good for just general, quite regularly. Could you just search for duvet cover on the search, please? Right, just that. So what you've got there is the 2 categories that people normally buy from when they search for that item, and then the top 10 sort of, or probably more than 10, long string keywords that they usually search for. What you can do is make your title, so start with a brand and then make your title up of a number of those things, only if they're relevant though. So if you've got a king size duvet, so it'll be the brand, duvet cover, king size, set. Yeah, just make your title up by that, and it's that's what people are actually searching for. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions from the audience? We are more than happy to answer one question, yes, for sure. And then if there are more questions, please find us outside. We are here all afternoon.